Thanks for staying on. Now, stakeholders in the public tertiary education sector have proposed a cost-sharing approach in the payment of utilities by students. Now, government, tertiary institutions, students and staff under the arrangement are to jointly bear the cost of electricity and water. Heads of public tertiary institutions and teacher associations, led by the Education Ministry, reached the consensus after a meeting at the University of Professional Studies here in Accra.
The Minister of Education, Professor Opoku-Agyeman, said between November 2011 and February 2013, the government expended over 25 million on 13 public tertiary institutions as payment for electricity bills alone. She further added that between August 2013 and January 2014, almost 7 million Ghana cedis was spent on 19 public tertiary institutions alone, stressing that the amount represented a fraction of the full cost of utilities in the public educational institutions. Stakeholders who participated in the discussion of strategies for sustainable consumption of utilities in tertiary institutions observed the use of different electrical appliances by students and the manner in which they are used especially greatly contribute to wastage. As such, government can no longer bear sole responsibility for the payment of utilities. They recommended a metering system should be installed to differentiate the various users. The heads of universities also intend to pursue alternative sources of electricity and water, such as harvesting rain, wells, biogas, and solar energy. They are also calling for regulations on the use of utilities to be developed and users compelled to comply. The crunch meeting was in response to the worsening energy crisis coupled with wastage of electricity and water usage in public tertiary institutions.
Meanwhile, some tertiary students have vowed to resist the cost-sharing policy being proposed by government. Now, the policy, when finally rolled out, will compel tertiary students in traditional halls of residence to pay for the utilities they consume. Now, Joy News' Latif Idris visited some tertiary institutions and reports that most of these students are not amused.
Some students of University of Ghana who spoke to Joy News said the policy would only add to the financial burdens they are dealing with.
I think what it's going to do is that it's going to put more pressure on students financially as well as psychologically. And if you take an institution as we have it, an educational one like this, what you would want to do as a government or as a management is to make sure that your students are psychologically sound, they have everything that they need to be able to study effectively. And if as a government you are going to compromise this by putting this extra financial and psychological burden on students, I think in the long run students are going to be at a great disadvantage. I believe that all other student activists and members of the university community would also resist it.
I believe majority of the student populace would love to know that their school fees are going to be increased or their hostel fees are going to be increased drastically. But this will be a drastic increment. Well, I believe we can find a very civilized way of going about it. Petitioning, perhaps.
The students contend the best direction for government to go is to subsidize cost of education, which is consistently increasing.
It's not really something I really support, because government should at least intercede on behalf of the students, because it's not every student you see on campus here are even able to pay their fees. Some are even struggling to pay. So if they introduce this utility bill, I don't think it's very favorable.
Actually, it will bring many burdens upon the students, because some of us will not afford all of them. So that is why we purchased for the traditional halls. So if you are going to bring all these burdens on us, getting the hostels and a whole lot of staff on campus will become very difficult for the students, and many people will not even be able to attend for the next semester because they know they will not be able to afford, because actually you are paying for about 1,000 cedis for our academic tuition and those staff fees, and you are paying almost 600 Ghana cedis for hostel, making it 1,600 Ghana cedis for just a year. So if you are going to bring all those burdens, it will be rating more than 25 2,500 a year and make the burden so much for students and parents to pay. So I think it's not a nice idea.
Those students are unwilling to embark on this cost-sharing mission with government. Some of them are conveniently paying generator usage costs imposed on them by their institutions.
The Ghana Health Service says it will use every legal means possible to ensure communities are kept clean to avoid filth-related diseases such as cholera. Ayoaso Sub-Metro Health Director Dr. Yawedu Sipoku disclosed this to join news on the sidelines of a program to train queen mothers and market queens on the need to keep their communities clean. Dr. Yawedu Sipoku explains that queen mothers have been selected to lead the campaign because they are revered in their communities and their subjects will adhere to their instructions.
In fact, we have already started it by going to places like Manchagbena, Budebrem Camp, educating everybody over there.
So at the end of the campaign, what exactly do you want to see in the market?
We want to see cleanliness. Every side should be clean.
The markets, we know, you mentioned Agbobiroshi, is always very filthy. We know that the AMA has to come in. They have to ensure that they pick the rubbish. Those who sweep there, they've complained severally that the rubbish is never picked. So what will you do in that regard?
Now we are going to involve the AMA people, and we are going to form a task force, so that at least every morning they should see to it that the surroundings is clear and the gutters, they have cleaned the gutters, so that the place will look nice before they start selling.
What exactly will the task force be doing?
The task force will be going around always to check that everything is put in place like how we started.
There's already task force in the market, but we do not see them.
I think it will be better they send them to courts for them to stop.
Their voices are heard. We respect them in the community. They are our mothers. They also have children. When they speak, we hear. They are parts of the council, of the town council, of the metro council. They are supposed to be parts of it. And when they speak, we hear, and we heed to their advice. They are in the markets, places, and so we need them.
So how exactly, or what form will this campaign take?
Since they are part of these important committees, then they should go and then be part of the education, sensitization, and even the enforcement.
Well, that's Dr. Yawedu Sipoku. Earlier you heard my colleague and other may interact with some of the queen mothers of the area. Now, the family of the late Madame Theodosia Okon has drawn up a tentative program lining up activities toward the final funeral rites of their kinsman. This was made known to Joy News immediately after the first family meeting in Accra. Emmanuel Ante spoke to the family head.
We are yet to meet the government, and therefore this was just to understand what we're going to do, but no definitive dates yet.
But have you already decided on the day you're going to see the government and then roll out a program or something?
Yes, we have made the approach to government. We have a tentative appointment, but it has not been confirmed yet. It will be early next week sometime. And when that has happened, then we'll be able to then work around whatever suits the government.
Now, let's come back to what the government has done so far. So far, I think the national flag is flying at half-mast. What do you make of this particular decision by the government to do so?
Well, for us, we are gratified because it indicates the importance to which government attaches to the stature of and the position in which my mother is in as the producer of the national flag. It means we put value to it, and that's a good indication of what the government thinks of her. It's great for us.
Now, do you have any special plans as to what you're going to do from today? I know in some jurisdictions they have a 1 week celebration and all that. Can you please take us through the program lineup from now?
Well, it's like I said, it's all tentative, but our tradition does not include the 1 week celebration. Where we come from, we do not do a 1 week celebration. But we debated this afternoon whether we should or not. And we erred on the side of caution. We stayed with tradition. So there's not going to be a 1 week celebration, we will go straight to the funeral. In other words, waykeeping, but it will probably be a private family one, not really open to the public. And then we will have the burial service and funeral the next day. It'll probably be a Saturday, and then we'll have a Thanksgiving service on the Sunday and close the case. But we haven't fixed the date. But that's roughly what will happen. In the meantime, we are getting ready with all the peripheral things like brochures and you know, sitting and waiting for people to come and greet us and tell them the story, etc., etc. That happens with every funeral.
We thank you very much for attending to us on Joy News,
yes.
And we will be talking to the family as and when there is a new development. Emmanuel Ante reporting for Joy News.
Well, Emmanuel Ante reporting for Joy News there. Now, before we go, the National Commission for Civic Education, NCCE, is holding its third dialogue series to discuss the effectiveness of Parliament. This, according to the Commission, will be assessed on a study conducted on the work of Parliament. My colleague Derek Okosam is there and joins me now over the telephone with more. Hello, Derek.
Yeah, hello, Kwabena.
So, what has transpired so far?
Well, currently we are at the Kofi Annan ICT Center where the third dialogue by the National Commission for Civic Education is taking place. And the theme for the discussion is assessing the effectiveness of Parliament in Ghana's democracy. The NCC says that in September 2014, they put up a team to conduct a research to ascertain the public's assessment of the effectiveness of the fourth Republican Parliament in Ghana's democracy. They were trying to look at the things that were hindering Parliament progress from the public perspective. Some of the things that came out from the research is the fact that the people were blaming the parliamentarians for owing allegiance to the party they belong to other than the national interest. So they are saying that the parliamentarians are pitching the party loyalty against national interest. Okay. They also saw that gender imbalance in Parliament is also a reason the Parliament is not working as it should. And then the other issues as well, they say that Parliament also lacks infrastructure. There are two people on the table. There is the majority leader.
Derek, we'll come back to you subsequently on Joy News today at midday for a lot more on this, and you can be rest assured at midday we'll bring you a comprehensive coverage of the NCC dialogue series that's currently ongoing. My colleague Derek Okosam will be standing by with much more. So that'll be it for the hour. My name is Kwabena. For more news, do well to log on to myjoyonline.com. Have a good morning.